My wife confessed she had an affair with my best friend. Then I found out she forged my signature to sell our house for $350, $0. Now she's claiming I owe her half and threatening to sue me for custody over our 3 kids. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing this all out, but here we are. You know that feeling when everything seems fine, and then suddenly your whole world flips upside down. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. It started with little things, her phone ringing at weird hours, her being overly defensive when I asked where she was, and small lies that didn't quite add up. I chalked it up to stress or her just being tired of our routine. But then I found out the truth, and nothing's been the same since. Her name's Lisa. We've been married for 8 years, and honestly, I thought we had a good thing going. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I never suspected she'd cheat on me, especially not with my best friend, Mark. That was the shocker. I mean, Mark's like a brother to me. We'd done everything together, fishing trips, golf weekends, even our kids' birthday parties. I just didn't see this coming. It all started about 3 weeks ago. I noticed Lisa acting weird. She'd leave her phone on the nightstand instead of hiding it like she used to. She'd get these weird texts late at night, but when I asked, she'd brush it off, say it was work stuff or a friend from her book club. But I knew better. Something was off. I started paying more attention. I'd catch her glancing at her phone, deleting messages, and that's when I saw it, an email from Mark, sent late at night with a subject line that said, "Can't wait to see you again." Something inside me clenched tight. I decided to check her phone when she was in the shower. I know, invasion of privacy, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. I unlocked her phone and scrolled through her messages. There were texts, flirty, suggestive, and downright explicit. They talked about meeting up, about sex, about how much they missed each other. My stomach dropped, my mind raced. How could she do this to me, to the kids? When she got out of the shower, I confronted her. I asked to see her phone. She hesitated, then snapped, "What's going on? Why are you snooping?" I told her I knew about her affair with Mark. Her face went pale for a moment, then she sneered and said, "You're overreacting. It's nothing, just some stupid flirtation. It doesn't mean anything." But I knew better. Her excuses sounded hollow, like she was trying to cover her ass, and I could see the guilt in her eyes. That night I couldn't sleep. All I kept thinking about was how she'd lied, how she'd betrayed everything we built, how Mark, my best friend, had been lying to me all these years. I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. How could she do this? After everything. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind. But the truth was staring me in the face. My wife, the woman I loved, had been cheating on me with someone I trusted. And that was just the beginning. Because the next day I found something even more shocking, something that would change everything about how I saw her and what I was willing to accept. I went into her closet to grab some laundry, and that's when I noticed the paper on the floor. It was folded neatly, but I could see her handwriting. I unfolded it carefully and realized it was a legal document, some kind of forged signature. Signature. She forged my name to sell our house. I couldn't believe it. She'd taken our home, our biggest asset, and sold it without my knowledge or consent for $350, $0. That's when I knew I had to dig deeper. I started digging through bank statements, emails, anything I could find. I found out she'd been lying about everything. She forged my signature, sold the house, and was planning to take half the money, half of our equity, claiming I owed her. I was furious. How could she do this? How could she betray me, not just emotionally but financially? And the worst part, she was now claiming I owed her half of the sale, threatening to sue me for custody of our 3 kids if I didn't play along. I thought I knew her. I thought we had a good marriage, but now I see it was all a lie. Everything I believed in was shattered in just a few days. I felt betrayed, furious, and completely lost. I didn't know what to do next, but one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let her get away with it, not without a fight. After discovering the forged signature and realizing she'd essentially sold our house behind my back, I felt like I'd been punched again, only this time from the inside out. The house was more than just a building. It was our life together, the place I thought I'd grow old with her. Now, she was claiming I owed her half of the sale, and she was already threatening to sue me for custody of the kids. I couldn't believe how far she'd gone, lying, cheating, forging my signature, and then trying to turn everything against me. I spent the next couple of days in a daze trying to piece everything together. I called my lawyer, who told me to gather all the evidence I could: texts, emails, bank statements, everything. I also started talking to a private investigator just to see if I could find any other dirt she might be hiding. I wanted to know everything before I made any moves because I knew she'd try to spin this in her favor. She's a master manipulator, always good at twisting things to her advantage. Meanwhile, Lisa kept playing the victim. She'd call me crying, claiming I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, and that she'd never cheat on me. That she was just stressed, that Mark was just a friend, and that I was crazy for even suspecting her. She insisted she loved me, that I was the only one, and that I was ruining everything over some stupid affair. Of course, she forging my signature, claiming I was imagining things. But I had the evidence: screenshots of her texts, the forged document, and bank records showing the house sale. Still, she kept lying, trying to gaslight me into doubting myself. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. How could she do this? How could she betray me and our family like this? She's always been a bit of a bitch, bitchy, manipulative, and always claiming she was the victim. But this was next level. I started to see her for who she really was: someone willing to lie, cheat, and steal just to get what she wanted. And what she wanted was the money, the house, and control. She's always been the type to play the victim, but now I saw her for what she truly was: a liar, a cheater, and a thief. I also learned that she'd been secretly withdrawing money from our joint account for months, small amounts at first, then bigger sums. I never suspected because she always told me she was saving for the kids' college. But now I knew she was planning something. I confronted her about it, and she just snapped back, saying I was paranoid and controlling. She told me I had no right to question her, that I was just jealous because I was losing control. That was the moment I realized she was good at twisting everything around, making me doubt myself so she could keep her lies hidden. As days went on, I felt more and more like a stranger. In my own life, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every time I looked at her, I saw a stranger, someone capable of betraying everything I believed in. The betrayal cut deep, but what hurt even more was the realization that I'd been blind to her true nature for so long. I thought I knew her, but I never truly did. And now I had to face the fact that I might lose everything: my wife, my house, my kids, because of her lies and manipulations. I decided I couldn't let her get away with it. I started planning my next moves carefully. I wanted to protect my rights, my property, and most importantly, my kids. I knew she'd try to use them as pawns in her game, but I wasn't going to let her. I hired a lawyer who specialized in family law and property disputes. We started gathering all the evidence, building our case. I also contacted a forensic accountant to trace every dollar she'd taken and to assess the true value of the house, the sale, and any other assets she might be hiding. The whole situation was surreal. I kept asking myself how I got here, how I went from being a happy husband to a betrayed man, fighting for what's rightfully mine. The worst part was knowing that she was still lying, still trying to manipulate everyone around her. She was claiming I was the bad guy, that I was trying to ruin her, that I was jealous and controlling. She even told our kids I was mean and angry, trying to turn them against me. But I knew the truth. I knew she was the one lying, cheating, and stealing from us. I also started to realize how much this had affected my mental health. I'd wake up in the middle of the night with a pounding heart, replaying everything in my head. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. But I also knew I had to stay strong for the kids, for myself. I couldn't let her win by breaking me down. I had to fight back, get the justice I deserved, and reclaim what was mine. The road ahead was going to be long, and I knew there would be more surprises waiting, but I was ready. I wasn't going to let her destroy everything we built over some greed and lies. The days that followed were a whirlwind of legal consultations, secret investigations, and trying to keep my head above water emotionally. Every time I thought I had a handle on things, something new would come up. Another lie she told, another secret bank withdrawal, or a new excuse she'd come up with to spin the story in her favor. Lisa was good at it. She always had been. That bitch knew exactly how to manipulate people, including me, and I was starting to see through her tricks. But it was exhausting, and honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind trying to keep up. One afternoon, I decided I couldn't just sit around waiting for the papers to come through. I needed to see her face, hear her words, see if she'd slip up again. I arranged to meet her at a local. She looked good, too good, honestly. That fake smile she always put on. She greeted me with that bitchy smirk, acting like nothing was wrong. I kept my cool, but inside I was boiling. I wanted to rip her apart, but I knew I had to play it smart. We sat across from each other, and she started in with her usual tone, pretending to be the victim, claiming I was overreacting, that I was paranoid. She told me she loved me, that she'd never cheat, and that I was just jealous of Mark. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You think I'm stupid? I found your texts, Lisa. I saw the forged signature. I know what you've done. So don't sit here and lie to my face." Her eyes flicked nervously, but she quickly recovered. She insisted she was innocent, that everything was just a misunderstanding, that Mark was just a close friend who was helping her with some personal stuff. I didn't buy it. I could see right through her. But I also knew I needed hard evidence to back up my claims. I told her I was going to take everything to the lawyer and that I wasn't going to let her get away with stealing from us, lying to our kids, and playing the victim. She scoffed and said I was trying to ruin her, that I was jealous because she was better than me. That's when I lost it a little. I told her if she thought she could manipulate her way out of this, she was dead wrong. I was done playing her game. That night, I went back home and started digging into her financial records again. I found even more disturbing things. Multiple accounts she'd secretly opened in her name, money transfers to accounts I didn't recognize, and a bunch of receipts from jewelry stores and online shopping I'd never seen before. It was clear she'd been planning her escape for a while. I also found a series of texts between her and Mark, where they discussed how they could cover their tracks and get away with everything. The level of betrayal was staggering. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, her lies, her betrayal, the fact that she'd forged my signature, and now her secret plans to run off with the money and the kids. I felt sick, angry, and helpless all at once. I thought about confronting her again, but I knew she'd just deny everything. I needed to gather even more proof. I contacted my lawyer, and we agreed to get a court order to freeze her accounts and prevent her from selling or transferring any more assets. Meanwhile, Lisa was still insisting she was the victim, claiming I was abusive and controlling, just because I was trying to protect what was mine. She told our friends I was crazy and jealous, trying to make herself look innocent. But I knew better. I knew she was the real villain here. She'd been lying to everyone, our friends, her family, even the kids. She was good at playing the victim, but I saw her for what she was, a manipulative, selfish woman who would do anything to get what she wanted, even if it meant destroying us all. I also started to think about the kids, how much they'd been exposed to her lies and manipulation. I felt a deep sense of guilt, like I'd failed as a husband, as a father. I didn't want them to grow up thinking this was normal, that lying and betrayal were okay. I knew I had to protect them, even if it meant going to war with her. I couldn't let her turn them against me or use them as pawns in her game. Every day felt like a new battle. I was fighting not just for my property and money, but for my dignity and my sanity. I wanted justice, but I knew it wouldn't come easy. She was cunning, and I had to be just as smart to outmaneuver her. I started documenting everything, saving all messages, recording conversations when I could, and keeping detailed notes. I was preparing for the inevitable court battles because I knew she'd fight tooth and nail to keep the money, the house, and the kids. I also knew I had to stay strong for them. No matter what, I couldn't let her see me break. In the midst of all this chaos, I realized something. I had to get my life back. I had to rebuild from the ruins she left behind. I couldn't let her destroy me or our family. I promised myself I'd fight with everything I had, not just for the house or the money, but for my dignity and for my kids' future. Whatever it took, I'd make sure she paid for what she did. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. The legal process moved faster than I expected, and I realized I needed to be even more strategic. We filed for a court injunction to freeze her accounts and prevent her from selling any more assets. That was a huge step. When I handed over all the evidence to my lawyer, I saw the seriousness in her eyes. She told me Lisa's actions were clearly fraudulent and that we had a solid case to get the house back and hold her accountable. But I knew Lisa, she was cunning. She'd probably try to find a way around it, some loophole or fake paperwork. In the meantime, I had to face her again. I couldn't just sit back and wait. I arranged a meeting, this time at her place. I wanted to see her face when I told her I was fighting back, that I wasn't going to let her destroy us. She greeted me with her usual bitchy smirk, acting like she had all the power. She tried to play innocent, claiming she had no idea what I was talking about, that I was just jealous and paranoid. She spun her lies so smoothly I almost believed her, almost. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I laid out the evidence in front of her. The forged signatures, the bank statements, the texts with Mark, the receipts from her secret accounts. Her face started to drain of color, but she still kept up her act, insisting she was the victim. She said I was accusing her of things she didn't do, that I was crazy and possessive. She even had the nerve to say she was only trying to save us from financial ruin, claiming she'd done all this for the family. I just stared at her, feeling a mix of disgust and rage. How could she lie so effortlessly? She tried to manipulate me, telling me I should just drop everything and move on, that we could work things out, that she loved me and the kids, but I wasn't buying it. I told her I'd already gone to the lawyer and that I was prepared to fight for everything, our house, our money, and the kids. I told her I'd make sure she paid for her lies and her betrayal. Her eyes flickered with anger, then frustration. She snapped back, accusing me of trying to ruin her, and said she'd see me in court. I knew this was just her way of stalling, trying to buy time or come up with some new scheme. That night I sat alone in my place, feeling exhausted but determined. I couldn't let her get away with this. I started reaching out to people I trusted, family, friends, anyone who could give me advice or support. I also contacted another forensic accountant to dig deeper into her financials. I wanted to find out if she'd hidden more money, more assets. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became that she'd planned this for a while. She'd been sneaking around, lying, forging signatures. She'd gone all in to take everything she could. Meanwhile, Lisa kept playing the victim, spinning stories about how I was abusive and controlling, just to turn others against me. She told the kids I was mean, that I didn't love them, that I was just angry because she was better than me. I hated hearing that. I hated seeing her manipulate everyone around her. But I also knew I couldn't let her win by turning my kids against me. I had to stay strong for them, even if it meant fighting a losing battle in her twisted game. The emotional toll was brutal. I found myself waking up in cold sweats, replaying everything: her lies, her betrayal, the house sale, the forged signature. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I didn't see her true nature before. But at the same time, I knew I had to focus on what I could do now. I had to protect my rights, my family, and my sanity. That meant staying one step ahead, gathering more evidence, and preparing for the inevitable court hearings. I also started seeing a counselor, just to keep my head straight. The stress was overwhelming, and I needed someone to talk to who wouldn't judge me or dismiss my feelings. I told him everything about Lisa, the affair, the house, the lies, and he helped me process it all. I realized I'd been holding everything inside, trying to be strong for everyone else, but I needed to be honest with myself. I was hurting, betrayed, and angry, and that was okay. It was part of the healing process. One thing became clear: Lisa wasn't going to stop. She'd fight dirty, use every trick in the book, and probably try to turn the kids against me. But I wasn't going to let her. I was determined to fight for what was rightfully mine: our home, our money, and most of all, my children's future. I knew it wouldn't be easy, and I knew she'd keep lying and manipulating until the very end. But I also knew I had to stand tall, because if I didn't, I'd lose everything she's been trying to steal from me: my dignity, my family, my life. The court date was set for a few weeks later, and I knew I had to be prepared for the battle of my life. Every day leading up to it, I felt like I was walking a tightrope, balancing between anger, fear, and a desperate need for justice. I spent hours with my lawyer, going over every detail, making sure I had all my evidence in order. I hired a private investigator to track any last-minute moves Lisa might try, and I kept meticulous records of all interactions, financial transactions, and new discoveries about her secret accounts. Meanwhile, Lisa was ramping up her manipulations. She tried to turn the kids against me, telling them I was mean and angry, that I didn't love them because I was controlling her. It was disgusting to see her use their innocence as a weapon. I knew I had to stay strong for them, even as she painted me as the villain. I made sure to spend as much time as I could with the kids, showing them love and consistency. I wanted them to see that I was still their dad, someone who cared about them deeply, no matter what she said. The day of the hearing was intense. I remember walking into that courtroom feeling like I was about to face a giant. Lisa looked smug, confident that she had everything in her favor. She was dressed to impress, trying to look innocent, but I saw through her act. The judge listened carefully as my lawyer laid out all the evidence: proof of the forged signature, the unauthorized house sale, the hidden accounts, and her manipulative attempts to turn the kids against me. Lisa, of course, played the victim card. She cried, claiming she was just trying to do what's best for the family, that I was abusive and controlling, and that she only wanted a fair share of the house because she deserved it. She everything about the affair, denying the forged signature, and insisted that I was jealous and trying to ruin her. Her lies were so blatant it was almost laughable, but I knew better. I knew she was just trying to buy time, spin her story, and manipulate the court. The judge was thorough, asking questions, examining the evidence, and listening carefully to both sides. When it was my turn, I laid everything out clearly: how she'd betrayed me, lied to everyone, and stolen from us. I told the court about her affair with Mark, her forgery, and her secret accounts. I explained how she was trying to take the house and the kids, and how I was fighting to protect my rights as a father and property owner. It was a long day, but the judge was fair. After hours of arguments and evidence review, she made her decision. She ordered the house to be returned to me, froze Lisa's assets, and put restrictions on any further sale or transfer of our property. She also ordered Lisa to pay back the money she'd taken through the forged signature, and she granted me primary custody of the kids, with supervised visitation for Lisa until she proved she could be a responsible parent again. When I heard the ruling, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't perfect. Lisa was still out there, probably furious, and I knew she'd try to fight me again. But for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was regaining some control. I looked at the judge and said thank you, knowing I'd fought hard for this. I also made it clear that I would do whatever it took to keep my kids safe and ensure Lisa paid for her lies. Walking out of that courtroom, I was exhausted but relieved. The battle wasn't over, but I had won a crucial round. I realized I'd learned a lot during this nightmare, about trust, betrayal, and standing up for myself. I had to rebuild my life from the ruins, but I was determined to do it. I knew Lisa wouldn't give up easily, and she'd probably try to come back with more tricks, but I was ready. I had the truth on my side, and I was going to protect what mattered most: my family. In the days that followed the court ruling, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. The legal battle was over for now, and I had managed to secure the house and custody of the kids, but the emotional scars ran deep. I couldn't help but think about everything Lisa had done: her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. It was hard to process how someone I loved and trusted could turn into such a different person behind my back. Still, I knew I had to focus on moving forward, even if part of me still felt broken. The kids were adjusting as best they could. They saw that I was trying to be strong for them, that I loved them unconditionally. Lisa's influence was still around, but I was doing everything I could to shield them from her manipulations. I made a point to be open and honest with them about what had happened in an age-appropriate way. I told them that sometimes adults make mistakes, but that their dad was here to protect them and love them no matter what. It was tough, but I wanted to give them stability and security. As for Lisa, she continued to try to spin her story, claiming I was a controlling monster, that she was the real victim, and that I had ruined her life. But I did let her get to me anymore. I had learned to see through her lies, to recognize her manipulative tactics. The court had made its decision, and I had to accept that some battles were won, but the war wasn't over. She was still out there, angry and plotting, but I wasn't going to let her destroy what little peace I had left. I also took this time to focus on myself. I started seeing a therapist regularly, working through the anger and betrayal I'd felt for so long. I realized I'd been holding everything inside, trying to be strong for everyone else, and now I finally allowed myself to feel everything. It was painful but necessary. I knew I had to heal, not just physically or financially, but emotionally. I had to rebuild trust in myself and others, and in the idea that I could come out of this stronger. Looking back, I see how much I've grown from this nightmare. I learned to stand up for myself, to fight for what's right, and to recognize the true nature of the people around me. I learned that trust is fragile, and that sometimes those closest to us can betray us in ways we never expected. But I also learned that resilience is stronger than betrayal. No matter how much someone tries to tear you down, you can find a way to rebuild, step by step, day by day. Now I'm focused on my kids, on creating a better future for us. We're slowly rebuilding our life, one where honesty, respect, and love take precedence over lies and betrayal. I've cut ties with Lisa completely. She's no longer part of our lives. The house is ours, and I plan to make it a place of stability and happiness for my children. I don't hold any hatred in my heart anymore, just a cautious hope that I can trust again someday, and a firm resolve to never let anyone betray me like that again. This experience has changed me forever. It's made me realize how precious trust is, how easily it can be broken, and how important it is to stand firm in your convictions. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. Don't ignore the signs of betrayal. Don't let anyone manipulate you into doubting yourself, and never underestimate your own strength. No matter how dark things seem, there's always a way out. Sometimes it's just about finding the courage to fight for what's right, yourself, your family, your life. And in the end, that's what matters most.